Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hello, lovely listeners. This is Carrie Brown, and with me I have Mr. Jonathan Bailor.
What's up, Carrie? How are you today?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I kind of thought you were going to...
The timing was not quite right there, was it?
That's like in the track and field when they're doing the baton handoff, and it's like, oh, drop the baton on the ground.
How are you?
I'm quite well, Carrie. How are you doing?
Yay, I'm doing great.
Well, Carrie, I remember that you had... This is an episode where you have another... We didn't actually say the name of the show.
No, we didn't.
This is, in case you don't know, this is the Calorie Myth and Smarter Science of Slim show, just in case you didn't know where you were at.
I never do that when I do the intros.
You got to do that for brand recognition, Carrie. All right. So, Carrie, you had one of your awesome questions for today's show.
Well, I just thought that, and particularly because it's a new year, although it won't be when we broadcast this, but, you know, anyway, there's an awful lot. I mean, there's a staggering number of diets out there. And when people are out there and looking around, it can be incredibly confusing as to what they all are and what the differences are. And so I just thought it might help to do a quick kind of overview of a few of the ones that people might run across, and that would help them in their not being quite so confused about everything that's going on out there in the diet world. What do you think?
I think that's a great topic, and I'd like to actually give one big answer, and then we can get into some specific diets. But the biggest answer is that if you look at results, the most effective ways of eating, and I said way of eating intentionally, is they're effective because they aren't diets, because diets are by definition temporary. And I know this is going to sound really, really obvious, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves of obvious things. If you press the accelerator in your car to make your car go faster, your car will only go faster and maintain that speed as long as you keep your foot on the accelerator pedal. You have to keep doing whatever you did to get the result, to continue to get the result. So any diet which takes place for a finite period of time, say 21 days, 28 days, whatever, it may or may not work during that time period, but who cares? Because I think most of us want long-term results, not, oh, look, I lost 20 pounds of water in 28 days, and then another 28 days later, I gained it all back in 10 pounds.
Right.
So the premise of dieting, aka doing something which you will only do for a short period of time, can't work if work is defined as help you to achieve any long-term goals. Just like very, very simple logic we have to remind ourselves. If you do something, anything regarding eating and exercise, and you stop doing it, the results will stop too.
That's why we need to find something that not only works, but we need to find something that we can maintain forever.
Exactly. But think about how what we're saying, Carrie, is so... It's like saying laughing is more enjoyable than crying. Like, it's true. Doing something, you have to keep doing it if you want to keep achieving the results that it gives you. But think about these meal programs that we see on television constantly, where it's, if you allow us to mail you food and all you eat is the food we mail you, you will lose weight. That may or may not be true, but unless you plan on only eating food you receive in the mail for the rest of your life, how is that supposed to work?
Yeah, it's going to stop working. It's going to stop working as soon as you stop getting your mail in the food, your food in the mail.
And then the same thing applies to calorie counting and starvation dieting. If someone, I don't care how many letters they have behind their name, tell you to do something and you are hungry, unless you are willing to tolerate hunger, cold, being tired, being crabby, every single hour of every day for the rest of your life, it can't work because you have to keep doing it. And no one should have to live their life in that state.
I'm certainly not interested in doing that.
So think about things that actually do work. There's a lot of people, for example, that two of the most popular lifestyles are vegetarian / veganism and paleo and then there's low carb. People who, all of these can work and have worked for many, many people and have worked long term for many, many people because they're less about dieting and more about changing the type of food you're eating and eating when you're hungry and stopping with you're full, just in a different set of foods.
Right.
Vegans don't count calories. They don't ever tolerate hunger. They just don't eat animal products.
Right.
Low carbers eat when they're hungry, stop when they're full. They just don't eat sugar and starch. Paleo, again, they're not tolerating hunger. They're just saying, unless it's something found directly in nature, I'm not going to eat it. And all of those lifestyles can be very effective for the exact same reasons. All of them eliminate processed garbage and sugar and other toxic elements.
But it's not, those things are not something you do just in order to lose weight. They're things you do which you intend to do for the long term.
Exactly. It's also ridiculous, I think, to say that not eating garbage is a diet. That's like saying not smoking. The default state of human beings is to eat natural foods found in nature until you're full and to stop when you're full. That's not a diet. Saying I'm not going to eat processed garbage, how is that a diet? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me.
It's not a diet.
But basically,
it's a way of life.
Every single diet, with the exception of some of these ridiculous processed food, just eat this magic Hollywood cookie diet, are all basically eliminate the most toxic foods. And if you eliminate the most toxic foods and you can keep that up, you'll have success. And there's different, like if you, for example, if you really don't like the idea of killing mammals, then being a vegetarian might be the right way for you to go. If you really like meat and fish, then going low carb or paleo might be a way for you to go. It's just like labeling it seems almost arbitrary because every single diet, quote unquote, that is a diet has to fail because a diet by definition is temporary. Anything that works long term will work long term for the same reasons. It's enjoyable and it's based on nutrient dense whole food, and you don't ever deprive yourself and you eat high quality stuff. Like, there's a myriad ways to do that, but anything that works has those characteristics.
You mean you don't think the cookie diet works?
Like, no, so there's two classes of diets in my mind. Not diets. There's two things. There's diets. A diet by definition is something that is so restrictive that it can only be done short term. Then there is lifestyle change. Lifestyle change is you change something fundamental about what you do day in and day out that you continue indefinitely.
Right. Getting
married is a lifestyle change.
Right.
Right? Because it changes your lifestyle. Having a child.
In my case, getting a cat is a lifestyle change.
Whereas, like, going on a date is a diet. It's something you're just kind of testing out and trying out in the short term. So does, for example, the Dukan diet work? I think it is quite effective while you're doing it, but maybe what do you do when you're off it? So the question is really goes back to other shows we've had, Carrie, which is, what are your goals? and what makes you happy, right? So if, for example, you really like the taste of fatty foods, then a low carbohydrate diet, low carbohydrate lifestyle, see how it's ingrained in my brain, a low carbohydrate lifestyle is going to be right for you. If you really don't like the thought of eating animals, then a sane vegetarian lifestyle is going to be right for you. If the idea that you should just eat the way people ate before we had an obesity epidemic makes sense to you, then the paleo lifestyle is probably a great lifestyle for you. I mean, I feel sometimes there's so much ideology and label putting on things that I don't get it.
Well, except that when people, and I don't think a lot of people do, but some people label the SANE diet as a diet, and that's not what it is. It's a lifestyle. We don't embark on this for a month to lose 2 inches off our waist and then go back to eating how we used to do, because then, you know, that's just like yo-yo dieting at its finest.
It's the best way to characterize sanity is actually the same way you would characterize vegetarianism or paleo, because they're both actually best. All three of them are defined in terms of a template, because the template of vegetarianism is don't eat animals, eat plants. How you do that is very open-ended, right? The template for paleo is, if it wasn't available to our ancestors, you might want to think twice about eating it. It doesn't tell you exactly what to do, sane eating. If it's not satisfying, if it's really aggressive, if it isn't nutritious, and if it's extremely efficient at being stored as body fat, you might want to think twice before eating it. It gives us a framework, just like it's the difference between can you memorize your multiplication tables?
No.
Well, can most American students who need to graduate from grade school memorize their multiplication tables?
More than likely.
More than likely, yes. However, the reason we do that is so that we learn the underlying laws and principles that dictate algebra. Because once you understand the laws and principles, you can now multiply any set of numbers together, and it doesn't work by memorization. Same thing applies with these templates. Vegetarianism, veganism, paleo, sanity. They're templates. They teach you underlying principles, and then you apply those principles throughout your life, and that's why they work.
And it's also just awesome, because when and I hope you're broadcasting this after the one about realistic goals, because when we talked about that, if you have different goals and you have, you know, you're at a different age and you have a different body composition and you have different parents and you have all these variables, a sane lifestyle is fantastic, because you just take the principles and you can tweak what you actually do to fit your situation while still maintaining the lifestyle, because it doesn't have a rigid set of boundaries. You can make it work whatever your situation is.
Yep. And I think the other thing which may be helpful for people is to understand the premise. So what is the premise behind certain lifestyles? For example, the premise behind Nutrisystem is, as long as you only eat things mailed to you by Nutrisystem, you will lose weight. And that is probably true, because they could mail you nothing, and if you eat nothing, you would lose weight. The premise behind vegetarianism is don't eat animals. The premise behind the paleo lifestyle is eating the way our ancestors ate will give us similar results it gave our ancestors, and those results are better than the results we're getting today. The premise of the Mediterranean diet is people who live in Mediterranean regions eat this way, and they seem to be doing better than we're doing, so let's eat that way. The premise of sanity is the scientific research over the past 40 years has established that foods that fill us up faster and keep us full longer are better choices for us than foods that don't fill us up quickly and don't keep us full. that foods that slowly give us energy and cause a minimal negative hormonal response are better for us than the opposite. Foods that provide us with more vitamins and minerals and essential amino acids and essential fatty acids, things we need relative to things we don't need, are great options. And foods which our body doesn't really easily store as fat are good options. So those are the underlying premises of these various lifestyles. So you can see, actually, there's some of them that may even cross-pollinate.
Right.
And that's the key thing, is to take a step back and just say, like, put all the marketing and noise and nonsense, just try to turn the volume down on that a little bit and simply ask yourself, can I do this and enjoy it for the rest of my life? If the answer is yes, it will absolutely improve your health, because basically anything, the worst possible way to eat in the world is the standard American diet.
Right.
So anything is dramatically better than that. If you literally ate, people are like, Jonathan, you don't like starch. If you were to only eat starch found directly in nature, yams, sweet potatoes, taro root, blah, 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 those types of things, as well as some vegetables, you would be dramatically healthier than a standard Western diet. Does that mean that there aren't things that could be even better than that? No, not at all. The point is finding what works for you, finding something that echoes the proven scientific principles, and finding something that's sustainable and enjoyable are the keys. I don't care what you want to call it.
It's got to be enjoyable, for sure.
And it can be. There's no, like this, here's another general rule of thumb.
Human beings don't stick to things that they don't find enjoyable, for the most part. Some do, some people.
Or not long term, or when the diet doesn't, when their life, it's easy to stick to something you don't like doing when everything else in your life is going well. But as soon as life isn't just cuddles and hugs, it's hard to stay on it.
Rainbows and unicorns.
Exactly. But the other thing that's key to keep in mind, Carrie, is that any lifestyle that, like, do the common sense check too. For example, this idea that fat is bad for us, that doesn't pass the common sense test from day one. Because if fat was bad for us, why, if fat was toxic, why would we have developed a taste for it? For example, there's a reason poisonous mushrooms don't taste good. I mean, it's true. There's a reason.
Nor does kale.
That's actually not true at all, depending on how you prepare kale. But like, that never should have passed the common sense test, that eating fat found in nature is somehow bad and gives you heart disease. If that were true, then we would have seen way more heart disease all throughout human history, whereas it was really, really rare for a really long time. And then, for example, being a vegan for moral reasons, sure, if that makes plenty of sense. If you don't think it's right to kill and eat animals, that is a totally rational, reasonable position to have. I respect it, and I think it's great, and I think you could probably be way healthier than the standard American diet. However, to have people out there saying that eating animals kills you is patently false. If we wouldn't have the jaw structure we have if we couldn't eat animals, if animals were toxic. And that's what people are saying. Like, when I say sugar is toxic, I'm not being hyperbolic. Sugar is toxic.
Right. It
is a poison, which it is dose dependent, but refined processed sugar is not something we are designed / evolved to eat, depending on your belief system, as evidenced by the fact that if you eat sugar, your incidence of diabetes correlates as strongly as if you smoke, your incidence of lung cancer. Like, when you do this, it breaks you, and it breaks people in a consistent way.
Right.
Whereas anything you find in nature, if you just stick with things you find in nature, there's no like, well, everyone who eats cows gets cow disease. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all.
1 or 2 people get mad cow disease, but not the whole population.
So, Carrie, I got a little soapboxy on that one, not as tactical or concrete, but does that somewhat help, or is there?
It does. I think it does help. I think it helps a lot.
And the key thing, though, that I would urge everyone to do, literally, is I was at the place I work out the other day, and they have this thing inside the lockers where they're like, for $849, we will provide you with all of your meals for 21 days. And when we've done this in the past, the average weight loss is 15 pounds. That's probably true. What happens on day 22? I mean, like, just run in the other direction.
Go to the drive-thru and eat a bacon and egg McMuffin, and all hell breaks loose.
It's like, as long as this really tall person holds you up, you'll be able to dunk a basketball. That's true. But like, what happens when they put you down? So unless it's something that you can do on your own, sustainably and enjoyably, don't do it, and try to find something else, because doing the wrong thing is worse than doing nothing, as we talked about and as the studies in the Calorie Myth show, because yo-yo dieting is so damaging.
Right.
So don't just try anything. Don't believe the hype that, oh, just try it, and no. Be very conscientious, just like you wouldn't just jump into a relationship with anybody. Your relationship with food is very serious, and it needs to be thought through. I mean, you're putting things into your body. That's a very intimate activity, and I think we should cherish it and think about it.
I wholeheartedly agree, sir.
I love it. Well, Carrie, hopefully that was helpful for our listeners. It was certainly an enjoyable conversation for me.
Yes, always.
Listeners, and dear Carrie, remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. We'll chat with you soon.
See ya.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at carriebrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at bailorgroup.com. That's BAILOR group.com.